Chris Farfoy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honour and privilege to be able to speak to this bill. I agree with the former Speaker on his feet, Tohinere, that this is future Speaker. That this is a good bill. And it certainly makes sure that New Zealand follows through with the international obligations that it has by signing up to the Hague Convention of 1954. Can I just touch on what Richard Prosser said earlier on? I think there's a time and place for humour in this House, but to try and bring up humour around this issue and the reputation of our armed forces probably wasn't the right moment. And I just do want to join with the Minister, the Honourable Chris Finlayson, and my colleague Annelise Galloway, just in talking about the reputation of our armed forces around the globe in this area, and they are absolutely outstanding and upstanding when they are out there doing duties on behalf of New Zealanders. I'm only going to take a very brief call, Mr. Speaker, but this bill just sets out to achieve three simple things: to create a number of criminal offences in relation to cultural property, to prohibit trade in cultural property removed from occupied territory, and to prevent unauthorised use of the convention emblem. And my colleague Annelise Galloway did talk about that third point, the prevention of the unauthorised use of the emblem, and we think that's very important because there could be moves by some people overseas to use this in a, I guess, scurrilous way to protect things that should not be protected. So we think that bringing that provision within this bill is certainly something that we support. In his opening remarks, the Minister, Chris Finlayson, talked about this bill this convention coming into force because of what happened in World War II, and there have been many stories from previous speakers about what has happened in the past and some of the injustices that have happened in the past. But I just wanted to also support what Tohinere said about our own history with our own taonga around this, because New Zealand has had its conflicts. There are things of great cultural significance to our Indigenous people that have been taken, have been traded overseas, and thankfully some of them have come back to New Zealand. And I think that it's absolutely fitting that we're recognising the importance of those cultural items by making sure that we pass this legislation through today. Of course, there are also conflicts happening at the moment, and Paul Hutchison spoke about the conflict in the Middle East, and unfortunately we're still seeing sites of religious importance being targeted by some people, and we hope that, that by the fact that New Zealand is meeting its international obligations with other nations, that we can kind of stamp that kind of behaviour out, because you would hope that in the 60-ish years since the Second World War that we'd recognise that carrying out this kind of behaviour, and as many people have said, that to the spoils go, the victors go the spoils, that we learn from those instances where it's absolutely inappropriate to take some of those spoils in a cultural sense. So it is a privilege to be able to speak to this bill. As Mr. Henry said, it is a good bill, and it absolutely makes sure that we follow through with our obligations under our ratifying of the Hague Convention.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Cultural Property Protection and Armed Conflict Bill, third reading.
Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the legislation bill be now read a third time. This is a very